All right, so I'm Miles. I've been working on some proxy patterns. I started with a clone factory last month, and now I'll be showing a transparent upgradable proxy factory today. And so I used Open Zeppelin docs to kind of go through these. We can see the minimal clones is that clone factory. I'm going to be working on transparent proxy today, which is kind of outdated and not recommended, but I'm just kind of starting at the bottom and working through. So for the build, we've got the standard your contract with a greeting, and we've got a factory to create proxies. And so we'll go ahead and create a proxy here. All right, and so the problem that this is solving is because we deployed this contract on chain, Hard Hat isn't generating the ABI for us to just show up here like we would want to see. And so what I'm doing here is the factory is keeping some storage of the contracts that are being deployed, and so the front end is actually reading those here with a contract read, and then we're going to store that in state. And so now that we've deployed a proxy, we'll go to the debug proxies page, and we've got a drop down here to select any proxies that have been deployed by the factory contract. And so then we can go ahead and work with this. So the way that proxies are working is if I'm making a call here to the proxy, this doesn't actually exist on the proxy contract. It's falling back to the implementation contract, which is your contract, right? So the way that this is working, we can kind of look at the smart contracts. We'll look at the factory. When we create the proxy, we are doing a new transparent upgradable proxy. We're giving it the implementation as the first argument. Message.sender is being used as like the admin or the owner of the proxy. And this proxy page is basically like a fork of the contract UI component. But instead of letting the contract UI component read all of the deployed contracts, we're actually feeding it data. So for each proxy that we have, we're going in and we are creating a new object and replacing the address. So then we've got, if we deploy multiple of these, let's do like 3 of those. So now if we go to the debug proxies, we have an interface for each one, and we don't have to give it the address that we want to call to. The build goes on to upgrade. So right now we can set a greeting. So like, just set a greeting here. Okay, so in the documentation, this is like an error that you hit. And so it's basically saying the admin can't call functions from the implementation signatures. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and log in with a different burner account. So I'm just open up a new window here. All right. Oops. I think I have something where this is reading some data first and then it's passing it to the debug proxy. So that's a little thing I'll work on. So I want to work with the same contract that we're working with over here. All right. funds. Cool. So someone who's not the admin can make changes or can write to the smart contract. There's all sorts of like security reasons of why that's the case. It's pretty complex, the transparent. So it's basically when we want to do upgrades to the contract, only the admin can call those functions, and anybody who's not the admin will fall back. So there's some ways that you can have like collisions and all sorts of things, and that's why this is not the current recommended way to do upgradable proxies. But we'll go ahead and in the build, we've got an upgrades. Let's see, this is Next.js. We've got an upgrades folder here, and we've got 2 contracts in here, and we've got another deploy script. And so the README file is pretty extensive, pretty decent documentation, I think. But I'm going to leave it there. So the build goes on to deploy an upgraded contract, which has a farewell. And what happens is when we do the upgrade, we're still calling to this same contract, but now we have new functions that we can call. But the proxy will keep the storage that is already existing. So that's the way.
30 seconds.
Thank you. So that's the way that we can keep our immutable state that we depend on, and that's why we're here in the blockchain universe. But we can add functionality. And so, yeah, if you're interested in this, go ahead and read the README and check out my page here. I'm milespatterson.eth. You can check me out on Build Guild. Got them here. I've got a UUPS build coming and a Beacon Proxy build coming as well. So stay tuned.